I always imagined my death would kick off a sophisticated distribution of wealth, like a reading of the will in a Victorian novel. I pictured my daughter weeping over my first edition encyclopedias and my son fighting to claim the mahogany writing desk I rescued from a liquidation sale in 1988. I thought I was leaving in the kingdom, but the illusion shattered yesterday afternoon. My hearing aid was turned up, and they thought I was asleep in my recliner amidst the stacks of National Geographics. They weren't discussing who gets the crystal stem winner. They were arguing over the cost of a 30-yard Bemster. My son said, "We can't sift through it, Sarah. It's too much. We just have to hire a junk removal crew the day after the funeral and shovel it all out." That was the moment the ground fell out from under me. I've spent 50 years curating a legacy, convinced I was building an empire for them. Instead, I realized that to my children, my life's work isn't a treasure chest. It's a hazardous waste site they are dreading having to clean up. I'm not leaving them an inheritance. I'm leaving them a logistical nightmare. To understand why I can't throw away a bent nail or a plastic container, you have to understand the winter of 1949. You have to understand a cold so biting it felt like a physical assault, and the shame of wearing a coat that was 3 sizes too small, the cuffs ending at my elbows, exposing my shivering wrists to the ridicule of the schoolyard. I grew up in a world where gone meant gone forever. If you lost a button, you didn't buy a new one, you pant. Your shirt closed. If the pantry shelves were bare, you didn't go to the store, you went to bed hungry. That trauma rewired my brain before I even hit puberty. I made a silent vow that when I grew up, I would never, ever be without. I learned that safety wasn't a feeling, safety was physical matter. Safety was a backup generator, a second set of tools, a closet full of linen still on the packaging. An empty surface became a symbol of vulnerability, a void where disaster could strike. I didn't collect things because I was greedy. I collected them because every object was a brick in the wall I was building to keep the poverty out. It starts slowly. It starts with sensible decisions. You keep the glass jars because they are good for storage. You keep the broken toaster because you might need the heating element for a repair one day. But over decades, thrifty metastasized into pathology. My home ceased to be a living space and transformed into a storage facility where I happened to sleep. I stopped buying things to use them and started buying them just to have them. The thrill of the acquisition was the drug. The moment of finding a bargain was a hit of dopamine. That whispered, "You are secure. You are provided." Slowly, the architecture of the house changed. Hallways became narrow goat paths, winding between towers of boxes. The dining room table, buried under decades of paperwork and collectibles, hasn't seen a dinner plate since the late 90s. I justified it all as love. "I'm saving this for the kids," I told myself as I bought a 3rd set of silverware I didn't need. I prioritized the preservation of objects over the comfort of humans. The sofa was covered in plastic to keep it pristine, meaning no one could actually enjoy sitting on it. I was the dragon guarding the gold, not realizing the cave was collapsing on me. The price tag on these items wasn't what I paid at the register. The real cost was the life I didn't live. You cannot invite family over for Christmas dinner when there is physically nowhere for them to sit. I traded the chaos of intimacy for the control of inventory. I remember my grandson visiting when he was 5, running through the living room, and I snapped at him, not because he was bad, but because he bumped into a stack of porcelain figurines. I saw the light go out in his eyes. He stopped coming over. They all did. My house became a museum of things I owned, but a graveyard for the love I lost. A museum where I was the sole curator and the only visitor, constantly policing the air for dust. I chose the safety of things over the unpredictability of people. I have thousands of items that tell a story, but I have no one to tell those stories to because there isn't room for them on the couch. I protected my possessions so fiercely that I ended up protecting them from the very people they were intended for. I sit here now, surrounded by high-quality wool blankets and antique clocks, and I have never been more cold or more timelessly alone. There is a bitter, liberating irony in realizing you are the villain of your own legacy. I look at these walls of stuff now, the towers of unread books, the cabinets of unused china, and I don't see wealth. I see stolen time. Every hour I spent dusting, organizing, and guarding these things was an hour I didn't spend holding my wife's hand or throwing the ball with my son. I thought I was holding on to the past, but I was just holding on to plastic and wood. Memories don't live in objects. They live in the friction between people. If I could go back, I would burn it all. I would choose a life of empty shelves and a full house. And to you, watching this, thinking that keeping your grandmother's third tea set is a way to honor her, stop. Your worth is not measured by the cubic footage of the crate you leave behind. The only thing you can truly leave your children is the lightness of being, not the heavy burden of your unfulfilled anxieties. Love is the only thing that doesn't need to be dusted, stored, or insured. Everything else is just future trash waiting for a dumpster. Don't make your funeral a moving day.